never thought that the first thing my daughter would do after getting rich was throw me away like I didn't matter. But that night, as cold rain soaked through my thin sweater and the lights from her big new house hurt my tired eyes, it wasn't the weather that broke me. It was her voice, sharp and mean, cutting through the dark like broken glass. "You're not getting a single cent from me, you old witch," she yelled. At that moment, my suitcase hit the ground. It burst open. Like a balloon popping. My clothes spilled everywhere, socks, underwear, and an old blouse I used to wear when I babysat her kids. My toothbrush rolled into the gutter, like even it knew I didn't belong there anymore. She didn't even blink. And her new boyfriend, barely older than her oldest son, just stood behind her with his arms crossed, smiling like he'd just won something. The mansion behind them still had shiny real estate ribbons on it. The "sold" sign was still up. She hadn't even been there long. I just stood there. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just let the rain drip down my face, mixing with the mascara that ran into the lines around my eyes. I didn't move. At least her kids weren't there to see it, their grandma tossed out like trash. "You're a leech," she shouted. "I worked hard for this. You don't get to live off me just because you're old." My jaw clenched. Worked hard? She didn't even hide it. She won the lottery just 10 days ago, $10 million. One big win and suddenly, I was nothing. Not family. Just a problem to get rid of. She used to say that if we ever won, we'd travel together. That we'd buy a duplex. I'd have my own little place close by, and I could help with the kids. She told her friends I was her rock. But now that she had the money, she didn't even give me a blanket for the night. I knelt down and picked up my socks, one at a time. My hands were shaking from the cold, but I wouldn't let her see me cry. I looked up at her. Those same eyes. I used to kiss goodnight when she was little, now they were cold and empty. "Get off my property, or I'll call the police," she said. "You don't belong here." The words hit me like a punch in the chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "I paid your rent for 4 years. I raised your babies while you bounced from job to job. I gave up my retirement again and again to help you start over. But I didn't. Not then." I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. I picked up my broken suitcase, stepped back, and felt the rain turn the dirt under my feet into mud. She thought I'd beg. That I'd crawl back, asking for scraps. But she made one big mistake. She never checked the name on the lottery ticket. A few weeks ago, we were still a team, or so I thought. I was cooking dinner, doing laundry, paying half the bills from my small pension. She was between jobs again, trying to figure things out. I didn't ask too many questions. I just did what I always did, kept everything going for both of us. That little house, cracked tiles, creaky stairs, messy but full of life, was our home. And whenever life got too hard, we had this little tradition. We'd stop by the gas station and each buy a lottery ticket. It was never really about winning. It was about having something to hope for. "Can you imagine?" she'd say, waving her ticket with a grin. $10 million. No more ramen. No more bills. I'd laugh and say something like, "Maybe I'll finally get that porch swing I keep talking about." We didn't expect to win. That wasn't the point. It was about dreaming together. Every once in a while, we'd lay the tickets out on the kitchen table, picking our favorite numbers. She liked birthdays. I picked random ones to see what fate might bring. "If I win," she used to say, "we split it." "I got you, Mom." She always said that, "I got you." And I believed her. God help me, I believed her. Even when she didn't help with the water bill. Even when she rolled her eyes when I asked her to tidy up. Even when her job interviews always ended with her stumbling in late, smelling like a bar. She had her moods, sure. But I made excuses. "She's just tired. She's going through a rough patch. She doesn't mean it." Because that's what mothers do, we take the hits. We soften the blows. But that night in the rain, outside her perfect new house, I realized something. I wasn't the one who changed. She was. And she was about to find out the ticket that changed everything was never hers to begin with. You know, most of the time we carry weight that no one else even sees. We keep going, helping, holding things together, quietly, like it's nothing. But that week, something felt off. My daughter started acting different. She pulled away from me, jumped every time her phone rang, snapped at her boys, and whispered behind closed doors like she was hiding something. I thought maybe she was stressed again or feeling low. I didn't push. I've learned not to. Then Thursday came. We were watching TV, some local news show. The anchor said someone in our area had won the lottery, $10 million, bought at the gas station just down the road. The same one we always went to. Somebody's life just changed forever, they said. She shifted on the couch, barely reacting. "You ever buy from there?" she asked, sounding casual. "Yeah," I said. "Picked one up Monday with the groceries." "Why?" She shrugged. Just curious, she mumbled, not even looking at me. The next morning, that ticket was gone. Not in the junk drawer, not under the magnets, not stuck to the fridge where I left it. I searched everywhere. My heart started sinking fast. But I didn't ask her about it. I didn't want to believe she'd take it, because we always played together. And she promised if we ever won, we'd share. But that's the thing about promises made when everything feels fine. They don't always survive when things change. That ticket wasn't a silly dream. It wasn't some throwaway joke. It was real. It was mine. I remember buying it so clearly now. I was in line behind a man shouting into his phone. He was angry, yelling about some deal gone wrong. I just wanted to get my milk, maybe a pack of gum, and go home. But when the cashier smiled and asked, "Want a lottery ticket?" I almost said no. Then I heard myself say, "Yeah, sure. Quick pick." It cost me $2. I even kept the receipt in my wallet. I stuck the ticket to the fridge with that dumb little smiley face magnet. I didn't know I was pinning up my future. When I got home, she was in one of her moods, talking fast, pacing around, complaining about a recruiter who ghosted her. I didn't say much. Just made her some tea and warmed up some pie. I tried to cheer her up. "I bought a ticket," I said, smiling. "Maybe we'll finally get out of this old house." She didn't laugh. Didn't even smile. Just said, "Yeah, that'd be something," and kept scrolling on her phone. That night, she made dinner, which she never does, and poured us each a glass of wine like it was a special occasion. She even kissed me goodnight. The next morning? The ticket was gone. Only the magnet was left. That goofy little smile staring back at me every time I reached for the milk. She never said a word. And I didn't ask. Because I wanted to believe she was still the same girl I raised. But then the new shoes showed up. And the whispered phone calls. And the late night pacing in the hallway. And finally, the day she shut the door in my face and said she needed space to think. Still, I stayed quiet. I hoped. I waited. Until I couldn't anymore. A few days later, she stood in the middle of the living room, my living room, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "You're not going to believe this," she said, holding up a check. $10 million. I won. Can you believe it? I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at her. And that's when I knew she was lying straight to my face. She never buys tickets. Never carries cash. Hates waiting in line. Hates making small talk with cashiers. And yet, here she was, suddenly holding the winning numbers? I forced a smile. "Wow, that's incredible." She hugged me tight. "We're finally getting out of here," she whispered. "We're gonna have the life we deserve." But I knew better. That we had an expiration date. She never looked at me like she meant it. And deep down, I felt it, she didn't just take a ticket. She stole something bigger. 3 days later, she was gone. No goodbye. No note. Just silence. Her toothbrush was missing. Half her closet empty. Her car gone. At first, I thought maybe she ran to the store. Then I saw Mr. Frank, our neighbor, standing at the fence with a cigarette in his hand. "Thought you were moving," he said. "What?" I asked, confused. "Saw a moving truck out front. About 5 a.m. 2 guys loading boxes." She was directing them. Had heels on. Wearing a robe. I blinked. I hadn't even heard a thing. And I'd been up since 4, with a bad hip and a head full of heavy thoughts. She'd slipped out while I was in the back garden, pulling weeds like a fool. She didn't just leave, she escaped. That's the word that stuck with me. Like I was something to run from. A burden she'd finally cast off. I checked the kitchen. Her mug was gone, the one I gave her when she graduated. Strong women raise strong daughters. It used to sit beside mine every morning. Now it was just me. And the magnet on the fridge. I walked over to it slowly, pressed my hand flat against the cold white surface, and stared at the empty spot where that ticket had been. It wasn't a joke anymore. It wasn't a suspicion. She took my ticket. And now she was gone. I called her. Just once. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I didn't beg. I'd spent too many years waiting for her to choose me over convenience. Over men. Over ego. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the chair she always slumped into after a long day, moaning about how life wasn't fair. Unfair. That word echoed around the walls like an insult. I thought about the time I held her hand through childbirth. The time I paid off her debts when she lost her second job. The trip I canceled, to see a dying friend, just so I could watch her boys while she ran off to find herself in Arizona for 3 weeks. And now? Now she was living in a mansion. Paid for with my money. One with the lottery ticket she stole, right off my fridge. She called it a miracle. A blessing. But she forgot one thing. The name. She never once flipped that ticket over. Never checked who signed it. And that tiny act of arrogance? That would be her undoing. I wasn't the same woman who used to wipe her tears and tell her it would all be okay. No. I was the woman who signed that ticket. And I was done being quiet. She disappeared, but she wasn't invisible. Not to me. I saw everything. Because she couldn't help herself. She flaunted that win like a badge of honor. Facebook. Instagram. Even the local news. From broke single mom to millionaire queen, she wrote, under a photo of herself on the steps of some marble white mansion. Drink in hand. Legs crossed like she belonged there. Her smile was wide, but I knew that smile. It wasn't joy. It was gloat. And the people she was celebrating with? Cousins she hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Old high school friends who used to call her names behind her back. Suddenly they were all family again. And me? I vanished from her story completely. No thank you, Mom. No, we did it. Not even a photo of the house where she grew up, where she raised her boys, where I cleaned up her messes and held her life together with my bare hands. She cut me out like I was a wrinkle in her new life. But I didn't shout. I didn't comment. I didn't post. I just watched. Because she forgot one thing, I'm still her mother. And mothers notice. I saw her status change from seeking employment to private investor. Saw her tag some luxury real estate agent with a story captioned, "Starting fresh." Saw her clinking champagne flutes on rooftop bars, while my grandsons played in the background. Unattended. Unwatched. Something in me turned cold. She traded structure for spectacle. And me? She replaced me with a nanny who couldn't even spell their names right in the captions. But the worst part wasn't what she showed. It was what she stopped showing. The boys. Less and less. First one photo a week. Then nothing. I knew what that meant. She was distracted. Busy. Consumed by a life she hadn't earned. Because the truth? She didn't win that money. She stole it. And whether she knew it or not, she was building her dream house on sand. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I didn't want revenge. I wanted proof. So I opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Pulled out the old folder where I kept receipts, grocery lists, scraps from 100 quiet sacrifices. And there. It was. The photo. The day I bought that ticket, I took a picture. Just for fun. Blurry. Tilted. But the numbers? Clear. The date? Clear. The time? The gas station? All of it. Mine. I printed it. Tucked it into my coat pocket. Because she may have walked out on me. But I was about to walk straight into the truth, and this time, I wouldn't be the one erased. I didn't go to her. Not yet. I went to the gas station. The same one where I'd bought milk, picked up canned beans, paid bills on instinct for the last 15 years. Ben was behind the counter, same old uniform, same warm smile. "Miss Evelyn," he called as I stepped in. "Long time no see." I smiled. Tight. Thin. Not the kind that reaches the eyes. "Ben, I need to ask you something." He raised an eyebrow. "Do you remember the lottery ticket I bought last Monday? The one I joked might change my life?" He chuckled. "Yeah, I remember. You said you'd buy a beach house and leave your daughter the dishes." I didn't laugh. I leaned forward. Lowered my voice like I was telling him a secret I'd been carrying for years. "That ticket's missing. And someone else is claiming they bought it." His face dropped. "Wait. You're saying that winning ticket?" "I signed the back," I said. "I always do." He blinked, then said quietly, "Well, damn. I can check the security footage if you want." My knees nearly buckled. "Could you?" 10 minutes later, we were in the back room. The screen was small, the footage grainy, but there I was. My coat. My bag. My gray roots peeking out from beneath my knit cap. Handing over the cash. Receiving that little slip. Then pulling a pen from my purse. Writing my name. I covered my mouth. "Proof. Ben, would you mind if I recorded this?" He hesitated. Then nodded. "Go ahead." I pulled out my phone. And hit record. No words. Just truth. Later that day, I called the state lottery office. Told them everything. When I bought the ticket. Where. That I had surveillance. That I had a photo. And, most importantly, that I signed it. The woman on the phone paused. Then said, "I'm going to need you to send over everything you have. We'll open an investigation. If your name is on the back, and it matches the footage, the payout can be legally challenged." I didn't flinch. I didn't gloat. I just asked, "Can you freeze the winnings?" She answered, "Once the investigation is formally opened, yes." I thanked her. Hung up. Then I sat there, in my small kitchen. The one she used to mock for being dated. And finally, let myself breathe. I didn't text her. Didn't call. Let her keep sipping champagne in her rented luxury. Because while she was busy buying Versace and burning bridges, I was letting the facts do what years of love never could, hold her accountable. And the best part? She had no idea what was coming. Not yet. But when the money stopped flowing, when the applause faded, when the silence crept in like rot, she'd look up and realize, the woman she once called a leech was the one holding the pen all along. The first thing she did after disappearing, after cutting me out, was buy followers. Not literally. But that's what it felt like. Overnight, her profile turned into a showroom. Designer bags. Poolside brunches. Bragging about spending $10,000. Like it was lint in her pocket. And then, it got worse. She started talking about me. At first, it was subtle. A post about cutting out toxic people. Then a photo toasting with old friends. Caption, finally free from leeches. Surround yourself with winners, not beggars. I read it twice. Then the comments. Clapping hands, fire, raising hands, applause. Laughter. Celebration. Tasha, that snake, commented, we always knew she was dead weight. Another wrote, good riddance to the old moocher. Live your life, girl. My face burned. My stomach turned. They didn't know me. Not the woman who skipped meals so her daughter could have seconds. The one who co-signed the lease when her credit was in the gutter. The one who held her granddaughter's hand through a fever and scrubbed vomit out of the carpet while her mother went clubbing to clear her head. They didn't know what I gave. Because my daughter never told them. She erased me with a few keystrokes. Let strangers paint me like a parasite. A punchline. A leech. I didn't respond. I just screenshot everything. Every post. Every comment. Every fake friend. Then I printed them. Because while she was out shopping for clout, I was sitting with a lawyer named Dana. Referred by a retired neighbor, one who'd been through something similar. Dana wore glasses. Spoke with sharp precision. And never once asked me, are you sure? She read everything. My documents. My receipts. The signed photo. The security footage screenshots. And when she finished, she looked me in the eye and said, this isn't just fraud. It's theft. You've got a case, Dana said. I nodded. I'm not doing this to get revenge, I told her. I just want what's rightfully mine. That same afternoon, we sent in all the documents. By the end of the week, the lottery office confirmed. They were looking into it. The payout was put on hold, and the public announcement was delayed. But I still didn't say anything to my daughter. What was the point? You don't warn someone who's already burning the bridge they're standing on. I let her keep walking, acting like nothing could touch her. She laughed louder, mocked me more, not realizing the ground beneath her was starting to crack. The more she posted online, the more she gave away without knowing it. And I just watched. No calls, no texts, nothing. Because when someone's dancing in the middle of a storm they don't see coming, shouting won't help. You just wait. While she was uploading photos with captions like, real queens don't ask for permission, I was quietly sitting in Dana's office, signing papers that confirmed everything, where I bought the ticket, when, how. While she was posting videos showing off how independent she was, I was sending bank records showing exactly what I had before the money vanished. I stayed quiet. And that silence became my strength. The silence made her louder. And in that noise, she exposed everything, her pride, her recklessness, how little she cared about anyone but herself. She started calling relatives we hadn't heard from in years, saying things like, we should catch up, offering them trips and gifts. Suddenly, people who forgot her birthday were acting like her best friends. And me? I wasn't jealous. I wasn't even sad anymore. I just saw things clearly. She kept making the same mistake, thinking love meant control, that power meant owning people, and that money could erase the past. But while she was floating in her fantasy, I was building something real. A case. A future. One she wouldn't be part of. One evening, Dana called. The lottery commission accepted your claim, she said. They've frozen all the accounts linked to the winning ticket until this is resolved. No money will be paid out for now. I sat at my kitchen table, holding a warm cup of tea, and listened like she'd just told me the best news in the world. Should I tell her? I asked. Dana chuckled. No need. The banks will take care of that. Sure enough, 2 days later, her social media went completely quiet. No flashy parties, no fancy hotels, no champagne. Just silence. I imagined her waking up, trying to swipe her card. Seeing declined. I pictured her trying again, her hands shaking, her voice panicking. But I didn't laugh. I didn't cheer. This wasn't about revenge. This was about respect, mine. I had given her everything, love, sacrifice, support. And she turned her back on me like I was nothing. But now she was finally feeling what she gave me, nothing. The state checked everything, timestamps, store cameras, even the blurry video of me slipping that ticket into my purse and signing my name with a shaky hand. It was mine. They didn't even hesitate. We'll make it public soon, the official said. We're preparing a correction and an announcement with the true winner. She used the words, true claimant, like it meant something big. And for the first time in months, I felt like someone saw me, not as a mother to be used, not as someone to pity, but as a real person who held on to the truth, even when it almost broke her. I hung up the phone and looked around my small, quiet kitchen. No fancy chandeliers. No big staircase or ocean view. Just the kettle, the old curtain, and the chipped paint by the sink. But somehow, it felt more like home than any mansion ever. I didn't tell anyone, not even the sweet neighbor who once gave me a casserole dish and whispered, "You're too good to be treated like that." Because this wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about proving something to myself, that I wasn't crazy. That I hadn't imagined her coldness or the way she started treating me like I was in her way. She thought I'd stay silent forever. That I was too old, too tired, too ashamed to fight back. But she forgot, being quiet doesn't mean being weak. Being quiet doesn't mean you're weak. And dignity? It doesn't ask for permission. That night, I looked out the window. The sky was dark, not a single star in sight. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something real, peace. Because this wasn't just about getting my lottery ticket back. It was about getting me back. The version of me who knew her worth. Who knew when to give, and when to stop. I wasn't the woman who measured love by how much pain she could take anymore. The press conference was set for next week. It wasn't a big flashy thing. Just enough time to get ready. I didn't tell my daughter about it. Why should I? She never told me. She was leaving. She didn't tell me she moved out. She never said a word while she walked away with $10 million and claimed it like it was hers. She never looked back. And I wasn't going to warn her to look ahead. Let her find out the same way I did, alone, shocked, standing in the middle of a life that was never really hers. The truth was coming. And this time, it had my name on it. The night before the press conference, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because memories kept flooding in. I lay on my old twin bed, the ceiling fan humming softly above me, and watched the dark room while moments from the past played in my head like an old movie. Her first steps. Her first heartbreak. That night she climbed into bed with me at 15. Her face streaked with mascara, whispering, "Why does everyone leave?" I held her until morning. Back then, I never imagined she'd be the one to leave me behind. I used to believe that giving everything I had would one day be enough. That maybe she'd turn around and say, "Mom, I see you." But she never did. And for a long time, that broke me. But lying there in the quiet, I saw things clearly. I did my part. I showed up. I gave her everything I could. And she made her choice. People like to say blood is thicker than water. But they always leave out the real meaning, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. In other words, the family you choose matters more than the one you're born into. She chose money over memories. Ego over truth. Appearances over love. And I was finally done blaming myself for that. I thought of all the times I tucked her in when I hadn't slept myself. Paid her rent instead of buying my medicine. Cancelled doctor appointments, skipped seeing friends, let go of my own dreams, because hers always seemed more important. But now? Now, I didn't feel empty anymore. I felt clean. Like I had been washed in truth. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror, tied my hair back, and put on the blouse I always saved for special occasions. It wasn't fancy or new, but it was mine. And that mattered. The car ride to the press conference was quiet. Dana sat beside me, her briefcase on her lap. She didn't ask if I was ready. She just knew I was. The room wasn't big. Just a simple stage, a banner, and a bunch of reporters buzzing with questions. Nothing dramatic. Just the truth waiting to be said. The official called my name. "We're here today to clarify the rightful ownership of the $10 million lottery ticket bought at Gas and Go on Route 18. Cameras flashed. I walked up. "My name is Evelyn Markham," I said, steady and strong. "I bought that ticket. I signed it. And I am the rightful winner." 3 minutes. That's all it took. But the silence afterward felt like forever. Reporters tried to ask more, but I just smiled and walked away. I didn't need to explain anything else. The truth had already done that for me. And somewhere out there, my daughter's perfect little world was starting to fall apart. I didn't have to see it happen. I already knew what it looked like when someone realized their fairy tale was built on stolen sand. I didn't post anything after the press conference. Didn't tag, brag, or tell a soul who didn't need to know. But somehow, she still hadn't heard. Because the very next morning, she posted a story from a fancy rooftop bar. pearls around her neck, cocktail in hand, acting like the world still belonged to her. The caption read, "Manifesting more millions." I stared at my phone, lips pressed together. She had no idea. No clue that her accounts were frozen. No idea the investigation was done. No idea her name was about to disappear from everything she thought she owned. And I didn't owe her a warning. Let her enjoy one last sunset over a rented skyline. I kept the press conference small and quiet on purpose. Enough to be official, but not enough to make a scene. She didn't know because I never told her. And she never checked, because she still thought I couldn't do anything. But she forgot one thing: just because I was silent doesn't mean I was powerless. Her biggest mistake was thinking my silence meant I'd given up. She forgot who raised her. She forgot about the woman who sat through every school meeting with her head held high, even when her heart was tired. The woman who worked late nights just to pay for her braces. The same woman who sewed her prom dress by hand from discount fabric because the real one was too expensive, but she still made it beautiful. She forgot I was the one who held her through every breakup, every panic attack, every tear-stained night after her babies were born. I was her backbone. And she broke it. Now I stood alone. Not broken. Not weak. Just clear. I didn't need the world to know what she did. I just needed the law to see it, and they did. Dana emailed me the documents that afternoon. It was all there in black and white. The state had officially transferred all rights to the winnings over to me. The payment would be made in my name now. My daughter was no longer legally connected to the prize. Not even a cent. I sat at the kitchen table, holding those papers in my hands, and let myself breathe. Deep, slow, real. She still hadn't called. Still didn't know, and honestly, a part of me hoped she'd stay in the dark just a little longer. Because the longer she walked around thinking she'd won, the harder the crash would be when everything disappeared. People like her never see the truth until the lights go out, the bank accounts get locked, the friends stop calling, and the ones she tried to impress turn away without even blinking. That moment was coming, and I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't slam doors or cry or ask why. No. When the time came, I'd just look her in the eye. And do the one thing she never imagined, walk away. The moment the news finally reached her, the clock in my kitchen showed 12:18 p.m. That's when my phone exploded. It buzzed and rang over and over like a jar full of angry bees. Each vibration made the old wooden table tremble. But I didn't move. I didn't answer, because I knew who they were calling for, and it wasn't the neighbors. It wasn't the news reporters or the nosy ones who always wanted drama. My heart knew, it was her. So I waited. Calm. Still. My hands in my lap. The weight of everything pressing down, years and years of holding this family up on my shoulders. At 1:43 p.m., her name lit up on my phone. A name that used to make me smile. Now it just left a bitter taste, like coffee left too long on the burner. I picked up. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't say hello. She screamed, "You stole my life," she shouted, her voice full of fear and fury. She was unraveling. And I could hear every thread snapping in real time. All that power, all that pride, it was crashing down. Her voice shook with panic, the kind that only comes when someone's perfect little mask melts off in front of everyone, and there's nothing left to hide behind. "You think you're so smart," she snarled. "You think this is justice? You humiliated me. What am I supposed to do now? How do I face them?" Her words hung there, shaky and small. I let the silence stretch. Let her feel it. Then, when I finally spoke, my voice was calm and sharp, quiet, but strong enough to cut through everything. "You could start," I said, "by saying thank you." She didn't say anything. I could hear her breath catch like she'd been slapped. "For what?" she whispered, voice cracking like ice. I leaned back in my chair. The wood creaked beneath me, familiar and steady. "For the 5 years I kept this house running when you couldn't hold a job," I said softly. "For the 3 times I paid off your credit cards, even when it meant I couldn't pay my own bills. For raising your kids when you were out. Finding yourself in bars and dreams that weren't real. For not calling the police the night you walked out the door with that ticket in your hand, shaking fingers, cold eyes, and stole my future." "You're lying," she snapped, but her voice shook. She knew. Deep down, she always knew. "No," I said. "I'm not." My words didn't shout. They didn't need to. They landed hard and clean. "I signed that ticket. The store's security camera caught it all. The footage was verified. I could have handled this quietly, behind closed doors. You left, but you made sure the whole world heard your side first, didn't you? Standing on that stage, spinning your story like it was the truth, trying to make everyone believe it. So, I told mine too. And that's when you broke, not with soft tears or quiet guilt, but with loud, ugly sobs like someone watching all their lies crash down around them. You ruined everything," you said, your voice shaking with fear, the kind of fear that hits when people finally see the real you. "No," I said, calm and steady like a cold winter morning. You ruined it yourself. I just stopped pretending this mess was a beautiful life. You gasped, like the truth had smacked you in the face. I could see you struggling, trying to grab back some control. You don't understand, you begged. I bought things, the house, the car, the clothes. It's all gone now, isn't it? You took it all. I didn't even blink. I already gave away half, I said, my voice clear and steady. To women's shelters. To single moms who fight for their kids instead of throwing them away like trash. You looked stunned, like I'd hit you, but I hadn't raised a hand. Just the truth. You're insane, you whispered, but there was no fight left in you. Just defeat. No, I said gently. I'm just done. Done being your backup plan. Done being silent while you played queen in a life you didn't earn. Then I hung up. No goodbye. No warning. Just a click. Like closing a door I'd left open for too long. The silence that followed felt different. Not sad. Not heavy. But free, like coming up for air after holding your breath underwater for years. For the first time, I didn't feel like a mom stuck fixing someone else's mess. I didn't feel like a sister carrying someone else's problems. I just felt like me, strong, clear, and finally whole. But as I put the phone down, something stirred in me. Not guilt. Not regret. Just one question, what now? What do you do when you finally burn the bridge you spent your whole life building? I looked at the clock. It was still early. The sun was barely up. The day was just beginning. And the world was waiting to see what I'd do next. By morning, things had already started to fall apart for her. Her bank accounts? Frozen. The fraud claims had gone through. The banks acted fast, locking everything down tight. Her fancy house, the one she loved showing off online, was now tangled in legal trouble. The car she loved to drive like a badge of honor? Not even in her name anymore. Even her jewelry and designer bags had paper trails, and none of those receipts had her name on them. Her perfect little life was coming undone, piece by piece, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. That's how it goes with lies and stealing. It looks strong, but it all falls apart the second the truth shows up. I heard the details from our cousin Leia. She hadn't talked to her in 5 years, but somehow got dragged back in. She called me, sounding half shocked and half amused. She walked into that fancy boutique like nothing had changed, Leia said. Swiped her card for a silk scarf, probably trying to feel powerful again. But the card was declined. She tried. Another. Declined again. Her face went red while the cashier stood there smiling politely, but you could feel the tension. She stormed out yelling about tech issues and lawsuits, her voice bouncing off the boutique walls. But it wasn't a glitch. It was reality, finally catching up with her. She never thought this would happen. She never thought I would be the one to stop her. But she forgot, I wasn't just the quiet mom who used to braid her hair and tell her she could do anything. I could do something too. And I did. Maybe it finally hit her when she saw that eviction notice taped to the front door of her fancy mansion. The shiny glass reflected her shocked face like a mirror she didn't want to look into. Or maybe it was when she sat across from a lawyer, her voice shaking as she asked how her own mother could do this to her. The lawyer didn't argue, just calmly pushed a folder across the table. Inside was everything, grainy security footage from the corner store, clearly showing her slipping that lottery ticket into her purse. Page after page of receipts, none in her name. And right there, bold and clear, was my signature on the winning ticket, the one she stole and claimed as her own. Every piece of evidence was like a brick, building a wall she couldn't climb over. She used to believe money made her untouchable, like some queen living high in a castle of lies. She showed off her riches, bragged about her success, acted like she got there on her own. Never once did she look back at the woman, me, who had supported her every step of the way. But in the end, it wasn't the loss of money that broke her. It was the truth. Cold. Honest. Unstoppable. It stripped everything away and left her standing in the mess she made, while I, finally, stood strong on solid ground. 3 days after everything fell apart, she showed up at my door. No call. No warning. Just loud, frantic knocking, like she still thought the world revolved around her. I didn't rush to answer. I stood by the living room window, watching. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, wearing a baggy sweatshirt that didn't match the woman who once posed online in silk robes, telling the world she'd left broke energy behind. She wasn't crying, she was angry. I opened the door just a crack, enough to meet her eyes. Mom, she said, out of breath, voice sharp. We need to talk. I didn't move. There's nothing left to say. You can't do this to me, she snapped. You didn't even ask, I said calmly. You didn't check. You just saw the ticket and ran. Her jaw clenched. Okay, fine. Maybe I messed up. But freezing my accounts? Taking it all back? That's not justice. That's revenge. I tilted my head. You called me a witch. A leech. You posted my pain like it was entertainment. She started to say something else, then stopped. There wasn't a good excuse. I waited. She shifted from foot to foot, looking uncomfortable. I need help, she finally admitted. And there it was, not guilt, not an apology. Just need. She needed something. Not a mother. A lifeline. A wallet. I let the silence hang for a while, just long enough for her to squirm. Then her voice got sharper, more desperate. You made your point. You've got your money. Your name's on the check. Are you happy now? Can we just go back to normal? I thought about what normal used to be. It meant me carrying her weight. Paying for everything. Fixing all her messes while she pretended she built her life all by herself. I looked her straight in the eye. Goodbye. Her eyes widened. What? I didn't repeat myself. I just started to close the door. You'll regret this. She yelled. You think that money will make you happy? You think you can buy peace? I paused for just a second. Then, for the first time in years, I smiled. No, I said quietly. But I bought you out of my life. And then I shut the door. No yelling. No slamming. Just peace.